Good afternoon. My name is Fernando Iñiguez. I'm a member from group number one, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic that is types of financial aid. We know that in an enterprise or a company it is very important to have financial aid. It is necessary for an enterprise to have this knowledge in order to move its account in a good way and have aid from other companies and from other people. Now, to begin with this, I must explain what is financing. Financing is the process of providing funds. Now, what are funds? Funds are the amount of capital that an enterprise has to use it in order to move its asset or do business with other companies or people. Now, these funds is used for business activities. You can trade, you can buy, you can sell, whatever business activity the company has. Making purchases or investing in other companies. Financial institutions such as banks are in the business of providing capital to businesses, consumers, and investors. It doesn't matter which of them are they. The bank provide this capital to these people or business to help them achieve their goals. It could be business goals, it could be personal goals, it doesn't matter. The use of financing is vital in an economic system as it allows companies to purchase products out of their immediate reach. Sometimes a company needs to purchase things, and sometimes they don't have the necessary capital to do it. That's when the financial aid comes to action. When an enterprise needs this help, it needs to have this financial aid. Now, the use of this financial aid is very necessary. To put differently, financing is a way to leverage the time value of money, to put future expected money flows to use for project started today. Financing also takes advantage of the fact that some will have surplus of money that they wish to put to work to generate returns. Sometimes an enterprise does not need this financial aid. Sometimes the enterprise wants to have the financial aid in order to have this money saved and to generate this return. That way, that money is not used to purchase some things, it is used to be saved and used to build another capital that can be used in the future in another way. While others demand money to undertake investment, also with the hope of generating returns or creating a market for money. Now, we are going to talk about different types of financial aid. We have internal financial aid, external, others, we have long term, we have middle term, we have short term. There are different kinds. My partners are going to talk about these types of financial aid in a more specific way, and in that way you will understand which one is the best according to each situation. That depends on the situation of each company and what it wants to do. Thank you.
I'm going to talk to you about the biography of Merton Miller. He was an American economist specialized in the financial analysis of markets and the capital markets too. He was the co-author of the Modigliani-Miller theorem, which proposed the irrelevance of debt equity structure. He received the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1990, along with Karen Markowitz and William Sherwood, for his pioneering work to establish a theory of financial economics. He did his university studies at Harvard University, and in 1952 he obtained the degree of doctor. and then he moved to the United Kingdom to practice as professor at the London School of Economics. And when he returned to the United States, he joined the Carnegie Institute of Technology as a teacher. In 1961, he moved to the Business School of the University of Chicago to teach the subject of finance and banking. During that time, he defined his line of research around problems of financial market and structural finance with their instruments. In 1956, he assumed the presidency of the American Finance Association, and from the beginning of the 80s was in charge of the Chicago Stock Exchange. His international recognition for his career came to 1990, the year in which the Swedish Academy granted him, along with two other compatriots, the Nobel Prize in Economics for his contributions to the financial economy. The work of Miller's was focused on the relationship of the financial structure and the dividend policy of the companies, with the market value of the same and the capital cost. This investigation, which began under the auspices of Franco Modigliani, were embodied in the theory of finance in 1952. This work contributed significantly to the companies, rethinking their dividends policy, the financial structure, and the ratio of the cost of capital to corporate investment.
Short-term financing. The short-term financing are confirmed by credit sales, bank credits, promissory notes, credit line, and commercial paper. Short-term financing is a loan of resource or money that is given to a company during a obviously short period of time. This can be a couple of months or even weeks, and the main advantage of this type of financial costs is that including low money buying costs. Credit sales, commercial credit, this is the use made of the accounts payable by the company of the accumulated short-term liability should taxes payable, account receivable, and inventory financial as a sort of advantage of commercial credit. Number one, it is a more balanced and less expensive means of obtaining resources. Number two, it's giving companies the opportunity to streamline business operation. Disadvantage of commercial credit, number one, there is always the risk that the credit does not cancel the debt, which brings as a consequence of possible legal intervention. Number two, if the negotiation is made and credit positive, rate must the cancelled. How to use commercial credit? Commercial credit arise, for example, when the company incurs the expense employed by the payments. It will make later or accumulates its debts with its suppliers. It obtaining a temporary credit from them. Bank credit, it is a type of short-term financing that companies obtain through the bank with the established functional relationship. Advantage of a bank credit, the flexible that the bank shows it is conditional leads to more probability of negative, along that adjusts to the needs of the company. This generate a better environment to operate and obtain profit. Number two, it's allows organization to stability in case of trouble with respect to capital. And disadvantage of bank credit. Number one, a very strict bank risk condition can several limit the ease of operation and adds against the profit of the company. How to use the bank credit? The company to operate before the officer who grants the loans in the bank must have the ability to negotiation as well if I give the impression that is company. Promissory note, it is a negative instrument, it is a unconditional promise and writing direct from one person to another, signed by the formulary of the promissory note, where it's undertaken to pay to its presentation at a fixed date or determined future time a certain amount of money together with interest at a specific rate to the order and to the beer. Advantage of promise note. Number one, it is paid in cash. Number two, there is high security of payment at the time of performing any commercial operation. Disadvantage of promissory note, legal action at the time of any definite payment. How are the promise note used for financing? At minority above the company note, and they from the sale of merchandise, cash lanes. It might be in grading and signing by the drowns.
Franco Modigliani, born on June 18, 1918 in Rome, Modigliani lost his father, pediatrician, at age 13. At age 17, he finishes his studies at the Visconti High School and decided to study law. In his second year at the university, he won an academic contest with an essay on subject of economics that he decided to study the science. He became a fervent opponent of Mussolini. In 1938, he was invited to visit Paris by the family of his future wife, Serena Calabi, with whom he married in May 1939. In Paris, he expanded his studies at the Sorbonne, and in June 1939, in Paris, he returned to Roma to read his thesis doctorate. In August of that same year, together with his wife, he emigrated to the United States and arrived in New York a few days before the start of the Second World War. In 1946, obtained American citizenship. He was professor of economics at the University of Columbia, Illinois Northwestern, and Carnegie Mellon University. From 1962, he worked in the Department of Economics at the Massachusetts of Economics Institute of Technology, where he was for more than 25 years. Main contributions. Along with Merton Miller, he developed the Modigliani-Miller theorem in the field of the company financial economy. This theorem states that whenever a series of assumptions are met, it is indifferent for the company to finance itself by using shares, own finances, or debt, external finances. Investment decisions must be made in a company independently of financing decisions to decide if it is convenient or not certain project of a company. There is to consider how it affects the future probability of the company and if it improves. Decide how to finance it. From this theory, it follows that the dividend policy of a company is irrelevant to the shareholder, since it does not change its intrinsic value and the shareholder does not care to have the value deposited in the company or that periodically transfers are part to it. The cycle of consumer savings. He also devised the life cycle hypothesis that explain the level of savings in the economy. Modigliani said that consumers were trying have to a stable income level throughout their life for what they saved during the years they worked and spent during their inactive years. The origin of the idea is found at Keynes' general theory, with in 1936 exposed he links between national income and total savings in market economy. 3 in 1937. Milton Friedman formulated his hypothesis of permanent rents, according to which the income of an individual has two parts: a permanent desire to choose between consumption and savings, and another transient. 3 years before Friedman, Modigliani, his student Richard Bombert, has presented his hypothesis circumscribed to the life cycle of each consumer according to then income have a form of bell in the course of life of a consumer. They are low at the beginning, high in the central age of activity, and again low after refinement according to this. Young people will be the ones who use the most credit, adults will save the most, and the elderly will spend their savings. This hypothesis has many applications for the economy of the total economic saving is determined both by economic factors and by demographic factors. Among the demographic factors is the age structure of the population and life expansive. The public deficit. In the 1960, Modigliani studied the best way to finance public expenditure, whether with higher taxes or which increase in tax debt. In conclusion, in one of the negative effects of a substantial public deficit in the economic development of a country.
Hi, I'm going to talk about long-term financing. The sources of long-term financing are those whose term of return of the obtained funds exceed the period of the year. Among the main long-term business financing options we have mortgage. It is a conditioned transfer of property that is granted by the borrower to the tender in the order to guarantee to the pay lender of the loan. The importance. It is important to note that a mortgage isn't an obligation to pay, since the debtor is the one who guarantees the mortgage and the creditor isn't cancel the mortgage. It will be taken away and will go to borrower's hands. It is worth nothing that the purpose of the mortgage by the lender is to obtain some fixed asset, while the for borrowers is to have the security of payment by means of said mortgage, as well as to obtain profit from it by means of the interest generated. The advantage one for the borrowers, it is profitable due to the possibility of obtaining profit through the interest generated from said operation. Another, it gives the borrower security not to get lost. It gives the borrower security not get lost when guarantee the loan. The tender has probability of acquiring a good. Disadvantage. The lender generates an obligation to third parties. There is a risk of certain legal intervention, a risk arising due to the lack of payment. Shares. The shares represent the equity or capital participation of a shareholder within of the organization to which it belongs. Advantage. Preferred shares give the desired emphasis to income. Preferred shares are particularly useful for merger and company acquisition negotiation. Disadvantage. The use of the shares dilute the control of the current shareholders. The cost of the issued share is high. Bonds. It is a rating instrument in the form of an unconditional certified promise in which the borrower promises to pay a specific sum in a future determined date, in conjunction with the interest at a certain rate and on certain dates. Importance. When a public limited company needs additional long-term funds, it is necessary to decide between issue additional share of capital of obtained loan by issue evidence of the debt in the front of bonds. The bonds issued can be advantageous if the current shareholders prefer not to share their property and the profit of the company with the new shareholders. The right to issue bonds to derive from the power to borrow money that the law grants to corporations. The holder of a bond is a creditor, a shareholder in a owner. Because most of the bonds have to be backed by fungible assets of the insurance company. The owner of a bond may enjoy greater protection to his investment. The interest rate that is paid on the bonds is so generally lower than the dividend rate received by the share of a company. Financing leasing. It is a contract that is negotiation between the owner of the property, creditor, and the company leaser, to which the use to those goods is allowed during a specific period and by means on the payment of a specific rent. Each stipulation can vary according to the situation and the need of each of the parties. The importance of the lease is the flexibility it lends to the company, as it doesn't limit is possible as adopting an intermediate change of plans or the undertaking of reason action in order to take advantage of a good opportunity of the change that occur the middle of the operation. The lease in length on financing by parties, which allows the company to use the means to acquire small assets. On the other hand, the lease payments are deductible from the tax as operation expenses. Therefore, the company has a greater tax deduction when it takes the lease. For the marginal company, leasing is the only way to finance to acquisition of assets. The risk is reduced because the property remains with the lease and may be willing to operate when other creditors refuse to finance the company. This greatly facilitates the reorganization of the company. Advantage It is financially quite flexible for the companies due to the opportunities it offers. Avoid risk of rapid obsolescence for the company since the asset doesn't belong to it. Lease give opportunities to small business in case of bankruptcy. Disadvantage: some companies use leasing as a means to avoid budgeted constraint when a capital is drained. Leasing requires of cost for interest. The main disadvantage of the lease is that it's more expensive than purchase of asset. And finally, in the conclusion, we have concluded by point out the importance of both short or long-term financing that are used daily by the different organizations, providing the possibility for this institution to maintain an economy and continuity of their commercial activities stable and efficient, and consequently grant greater contribution to economic sector in which they participate.